We're gonna sing a good niggun. Everyone, let's sing a niggun, but let's sing a niggun. Let's sing a good niggun in a good way. It's actually avodas Hashem, and not like an optional opening of a shir. Yeah? Come on. Serious times. You know? Ask for serious measurements of simcha. And Sorry, I just learned a new Rav Shlomo Nigun this morning. I want to sing it before I forget it. Yeah. Toy, 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 toy. Dum, 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 ding, ding, dum, dum, ding, dum, ding, ding, oh. Dum, dum, ding, dum, ding, ding, oh. Dum, bum, 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 dum, dum, ding, dum, ding, dum, da, da, ding, dum, dum, bum, bum, ding, dum, ding, da, ya, mama. Ay, 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 ay. Am, 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 am. Ay, 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 ay. Am, 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 am. Am, la, 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 ya, ya, ya. Am, 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 am. Ay, am, 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 am. Am, 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 am. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Ya la 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 ya. Bum 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 bum. Sorry.
Yes, wow, beautiful.
What's
New tune was that received in dreams, or
that? What's that?
Rav Shlomo tune? How was that received?
I don't know how he did it.
How did you receive it?
No. That was I found this morning a new nigun from Rav Shlomo that I never heard. So no, I didn't. Some recording. We need 48 hours a minute, not a day, because there's so I haven't gone through more than maybe 20% of the stuff. Okay, let's give these out for whoever needs. I need strong tefillas this morning, Chevra, when we're learning. Strong tefillas. There's some Chevra we know. We need some surgeries, operations. Strong tefillas for Eliashir ben Hadassah Elisheva Bela to daven really strong for his refuah shlema. He's a young boy that's going through a surgery, and also Gershon ben Sarah is having a procedure this morning. If everyone could have those two names in mind, Eliashir ben Hadassah Elisheva Bela and Gershon ben Sarah. Okay, Chavah, we're finishing today the third level of the superconscious of the soul, which is Ratzon. We did Emunah, and we did Tanug, and now we're doing Ratzon. Well, let's briefly recap what we're trying to do over here. I begin the place of connecting to the superconscious. That means the things that, whether I like it or not, are surrounding the Yiddish and Neshama. And what's that? Emunah, and specifically Emunah bevias HaMashiach. That's something that's surrounding me all the time. Emunah bevias HaMashiach. And we spoke a lot about that, and I want to speak about that for the rest of our lives. But I wanna now just go to then, what is Tainug? What did we say pleasure was? Pleasure was when I realized, oh my God, I actually believe it's going to happen. Tainug, we experience this pleasure. No, Bemet, it sounds funny, but it's like, you know what it is? Sometimes when you realize something that's so clear, you just start to laugh, no? Right? That's what it is. So it's like this, oh yeah, I actually believe in what I believe in. What a pleasure. What a pleasurable thing. Like, I actually believe in what I believe in, and then that creates this form of tainug, of pleasure, like we spoke about last time. And that's what we were linking it to the Alter Rebbe's ahava v'tanugim, ahava rabba, ahavas olam. All these different ways of what pleasure truly means when we sense this thing of like, in me is actually what I'm always thinking about. Like what I imagine to be holy, like a person that actually believes he's a holy person, a person that actually believes in the coming of Yeshua Mashiach is like an ideal person, and oh my God, that's also in me. That moment of hakara forms this pleasure inside. There's a pleasure, there's a tainug, there's a tasting of something before it's even here, meaning I have a pleasure in what I believe in, even if what I believe in hasn't formally taken place yet. Nachon? Okay. Now, the next shlav is ratzon, because it's very good. Those two levels of the superconscious don't force anybody to actually do anything. It's great. It's a great state of awareness. It's beautiful. You could stay in that place for forever. Ratzon now is going, it's like weiter. Ratzon is something much stronger. Now, this goes a little bit connected to what we were on a tangent, a little shtickle tangent on Monday, that I'm going to bring in something for Reb Nachman, even though the Mahalach here isn't Reb Nachman, but it's very important. Throughout Likutei Moharan, there's a phrase that's very repetitive. And he says over and over again, En ha'ikar talui ela baratzon. That anything important in life, anything worthwhile, anything meaningful in life is dependent on how badly you want it, on your ratzon. The way Rav Shlomo said this, he said this one year, it's like the 1977 Sfira Soimer, he said, out of nowhere, he said, a person is not who he or she is yet, because maybe they're not there yet. A person essentially is who they want to be. He was speaking about Sfira Soimer. Like, we're not, like, if someone asks you, who are you? And you say it based on, you say, well, I must look at my life. What are my successes and my life decisions dictate to me about what I am? That's not necessarily true, because you may not want to be where you are. A person is what they want to be. That's still passive. Here, Rav Ginsburg is going to show us that Ratzon is actually, in its pnimius, not a passive thing at all. And he bases it, of course, with the mastery of the Hebrew language in a way that only he could do it. So open up on Ratzon. Everyone has Ratzon? Be'ezer Hashem, I listen, Chevra, I hope to be picking up, I'll be in Kfar Chabad later today, and I hope to be, that the stock is in the library for those that ordered and those that want, of the Svarim. There's two machsanim. One is in Kfar Chabad and one is somewhere else. So I don't know, but we'll try. But Bli Neder, for now we have the handouts, okay? Okay, let's focus. I know there's gonna be a lot of, not questions, a lot of comments. Try, unless it's mamish chashuv, try to wait until the end, okay? You know, that's code word for just don't bother me, let's go through, right? And it also means I'm not gonna have time at the end either, so just like, don't ask anything. It's mishpacha here, what am I gonna do? But seriously, hold on till the end. Okay, so Ratzon. Haratzon. הרצון הוא האחרון מבין שלושת הכוחות הכלליים שבעל מודע, the last faculty of the super consciousness that we've been speaking about, where הנשמה comes from, is רצון. לאחר שגרעין האמונה החבוי בפנימיוס הנפש התגלה מעט בחוויית התענוג, after the seed of faith, which is deeply placed in the inside of the soul, began to be revealed a little bit through the experience of pleasure. So just explain. When I have this pleasure that I realize that, oh my God, I actually believe this is going to happen. Rav Ginsburg says, that's your neshama saying, hey, shalom aleichem, nice to meet you. So after that begins a little bit, just a nekuda, begins a little bit to appear. הוא מתחיל לנבוט אל פני השטח המודעים של הנפש. Now, the soul begins to sprout towards the more conscious places of the nefesh. What does that mean? Again, this is very important, even though it sounds very repetitive. What is the difference between super consciousness and consciousness? Actually, I'm going to add one more thing to the element, okay? What's the difference between subconscious, superconscious, and conscious? So what's subconscious? Let's start with that. What's subconsciousness? What access do I have to subconsciousness? If at all. What access do I have to the subconsciousness, the tat muda? If at all. Right? Ishbitzer has, that's the world of Ishbitz. Like operating based on the subconsciousness, more or less. Huh? Choliot. Choliot. What is super consciousness in the context of this shiurim? What's the super consciousness? We keep on saying it's beyond, and yet
it's affecting.
It has a bidiyuk. It has a hashpa'ah that I could at moments really see. I could detect it, and then I want more. I want to get more there. What's consciousness? Clear. Kidu. This is how I'm operating in this world. The third level, Ratzon, over here is the connector between the super consciousness to the consciousness. This is going to bring us to actually Bafoyal. Ratzon, now look what he does here. Ratzon ba milashon merutze. Okay, so what does Ratzon mean? It comes from the language of, what is merutze? Pleased, satisfied. But really, that's still passiveness. How do you become satisfied? If you let the merutze, right, become actually a merutza. Now, merutza means כשאתה מריץ משהו. מה זה להריץ משהו? You make it happen. להריץ. בוא נריץ איזה ערב חזק של, like someone has an idea, let's do an even, בוא נריץ משהו. It doesn't mean let's run. It means נריץ is, I don't know what exactly the right word in English is, but it's basically to make something happen. He says, ratzon, in the pnimius of it, like someone could say, oh, I really want, but I can't do it. It means that what you want, you don't really want that badly. Because if you really wanted what you wanted that badly, it would start to leharitz. It would start to take action. Kevan shehu megale et hatochen hachavui, because the ratzon reveals really what's going on, the inner context of the Yiddish neshama, umeritz. And it begins, Ellie, you got to help me. Ellie, there's got to be a proper word where we all feel stupid and then only you know what it is. What is it? Leharitz.
What would we generate?
To generate. Yeah. That,
Push forward.
Push forward. There's a specific word, but I actually like to generate. To usher in. Wow, look what's happening today. Yeah. You're ushering in, you're generating, is kol kochos hanefesh leratzot bo ulemamsho bechol kocham. Is that you're recruiting. When through the ratzon, you're recruiting all the other kochos of the nefesh, which we haven't even gotten to yet, to say, hey, use your kochos in the best way to come and manifest the feeling of pleasure that our emunah brought us to. It's almost like you're going to each part of you and you're saying, hey, you, whatever the koyach is, ahava, yira, simcha, sasa, whatever it is, come and let me use you for this. You know, the smart general is not someone that shows everyone that he could do everything. It's the one that knows that person has that person has that person has that. Let me recruit each person towards this. And then that's basically what the ratzon, hu meritz, it generates a productive energy. That's a captain. The Rebbe was the greatest captain of our Dor. The Rebbe was the greatest captain. Because what did the Rebbe do? He didn't tell everybody to do the same thing. The Rebbe had a way where even the word that he said was speaking to the heart and the neshama of someone, saying, that's drawing me to go and be part of this. How? I don't know. I'm printing press. How? I run camps. How? I'm a musician. I don't know. I was watching this beautiful interview with Avram Fried that Mendy did. Did you guys see this? Mendy did a beautiful interview with Avram Fried a few days ago, and just even Avram Fried speaking about his shlichus, his sense of shlichus. That's what a captain of the ship does. But in each, and that's the gadol, but in each and every one of us, there's a captain of the ship. Who's that? Me. You. Each one is a balabas on their own ship. And the neshama has to send its messages, finds ways to send its message to say, okay, come. And it's all based on the ratzon. The more the ratzon is refined, the more the ratzon is pure, the more the ratzon is clear, it can recruit all the other kochos of the nefesh to act in harmony, in unison towards the goal. Now, what's the goal? Go back to emunah. Emunah in what? Bias HaMashiach. And that's what we have to be very clear here. Tikkun Medina, without the context of Bias HaMashiach, is Avodah Zarah. It has nothing to do with Yiddishkeit. Nothing. It has to do with a lot of beautiful nationalistic ideas which may work for every other nation in the world. Any nation in the world. Our Inyan, as long as that's not the focus of Emunah, Tanug, Ratzon, brings us nowhere. You're banking on Nisim and Niflos, and Rambam told us a long time ago, Ein Somchin Ala Nes. We don't bank on miracles. Okay, now next paragraph. Masha mitchadesh b'shlav haratzon. The chidush in this phase of ratzon hu ha'itiyachasut hama'asit v'hamiyadit. Action. My hitiyachasut, the way that I approach, the way that I respond to ratzon isn't like, wow, it's so nice to have such a strong desire. No. My hitiyachasut, the way I respond to ratzon is achshav. Not achshav, it has to happen, but achshav, I have to do something. Rotzim mashu, kan ve'achshav, you want something here and now. Lo rak lehagot bo, not just something to observe and learn. Ve'af lo listapek rak bete'ima mimeno, and not to be satisfied by what? Getting a taste of it. And here I have to just, this is like a little pet peeve of mine, but whatever. I feel like all these shiurim are, but this one is a very interesting one. You know, whenever anyone comes to you, when you start to kvetch about the situation, they come and tell you, son, do you know what it was like 20 years ago? Do you know what it was like? That's never, ever made me feel more love, better, good about the situation at all. It's never.
Our yesterday's our greatest slave driver.
Bidiyuk. Mazel tov. So that's what it was like. And does that mean? See, that's again, that works, that lashon works when you're just trying to have some kind of a nationalistic identity. And it's true, the nationalistic representation of the nation was so much more schwach 20 years ago or 50 years ago, and the infrastructure of the land was so much more schwach, whatever it is, that works for everywhere else in the world. When someone comes and tells you that, and you're like, it's supposed to be like, oh, so it's okay that I shouldn't really be burning in my heart of hearts right now to do whatever I can to bring Mashiach? If that comment that's said to you is there to just be like, you know, it's okay, it's been much worse here. Zelo zerli. That doesn't, to me, it never did anything good. In fact, it probably provoked, you know, a negative place. Where's that coming from? Because he says over here, not to be satisfied with a te'ima, with tasters. That doesn't satisfy the ratzon of the nefesh regarding the super consciousness.
It can be pogea in the tanug.
It can even be pogea in the tanug. Nachon. Emunas hageula, third line. Emunas hageula ksheleatzma eina doreshet shetavo miad. So this is beautiful. Now here's the health. Here's the healthier. To me, this is the healthiest approach. Emunah in redemption on its own does not demand for it to come immediately. Why is that such a chiddush, Chavra? If we understood it, it'd be the biggest chiddush in the world. Huh? Because what does Mashiach now mean? What does Mashiach now mean, like Lemaiser, in terms of an instruction for you and I? If I say Mashiach now, and it doesn't happen now, so what should be my response, my relationship to the proclamation that I just made?
Okay, now. Now.
No, right. No. That's the pnimius of it, right? And every time I say, okay, now, what's happening to me inside?
Doing what I can.
More what? More and more semcha. And more semcha. And the ratzon gets stronger and stronger. It's going to explain this. Uminekudat mahut ha'emunah ha'teorah hi me'al hazman. Mashiach now puts the concept of redemption and faith into a very constraining concept. You know what that concept is? Time. This is so deep, Chevra. I want you to focus as much as you can. This is like the ikar of this. So please give all your attention. Every word here is gold. Mahut ha'emunah ha'teora hi me'al hazman. The essence, the concept of real pure faith is beyond time and space. So if I believe in something, and that something is dependent, its fulfillment is dependent on me seeing it happen within a certain time frame, it means that my emunah in it is not that tahor. There's something blemished in the concept of my faith in it. Do you follow? Geffen, you look like, I cannot believe I just moved to this community right now. I'm kidding. What came before the world? A few things came before the world came. What's one of them? Tshuva. Of course. But there's concepts that came before the world. One of them is tshuva. What's the inyan of tshuva? I have to believe tshuva kadma la'olam. So that means I have to believe tshuva showed up in the world before the confines of time and space. Which means that what? I usually don't believe so much in my tshuva because time dictates to me that I messed up too much, and on a time level, it's going to take me millions of years to fix what I did. Tshuva kadma la'olam, the real or of tshuva, came before the world came in, right? What else came before the world really came into the world? For the world really showed up. The emunah and bias Mashiach, the whole light of Mashiach, everything about it. So therefore, the mahuta emunah, again, mahuta emunah teora hi me'al hazman. Uminikudat mabata hageula kvar kan. Nochachat avur kol mi shema'amin ba be'emet. Okay, now we're getting to another thing that is a tikkun for Monday's shir. When someone says Mashiach's already here, what do you usually want to do to them?
Punch him in the face.
Punch them in the face. Nachon. But the real ones that say Mashiach is Geula is already here, what are they basically saying?
They tasted it already.
What are they saying about the emes, about redemption, about emunah, about Geula?
It's all beyond time. So
That it's beyond time and space, and therefore, on a very emes shlamita level, it already took place. It's just about me going me'al hazman. I have to get out of this concept of time. I got to get out of the confines of time to connect myself to that which is already. That's why the Ishbitzer says the greatest revelation of Mashiach comes will be that everyone will realize he was always here.
That is true.
And that's the deepest thing in the world. He bases that on Yosef and Yehuda. Remember? When the Ishbitzer says, what's the greatest taste we'll ever get to Mashiach coming in the Torah? It's when Yosef reveals himself to Yehuda. And then what does Yehuda realize? Bless you. He realized in front of me was actually my brother this whole time. I just didn't realize it. So the Ishbitzer says that's what it's going to be like when Mashiach comes, is that what's in front of me was actually Geula the whole time. I just have to go through this whole Purim in this Gilgul in order to come and reveal it. But this is a very important thing. Yes, Eli. Louder.
So, Hashem took Abraham outside, but takes us chutza.
Exactly. He took him out of the confines of time. Exactly. In order to understand what Am Yisrael is all about. Lemala ma'kochavim, lemala ma'mazalas, above the constellations. Again, I want to read this line again. We're in the fourth line in the second paragraph. Uminikudat mabata hageula kvar kan, meaning from pure emuna point of view, the geula is already here. That's present for avul kol mi shema'amin ba be'emet. Whoever really believes in it, be'emes la'amito, the geula is already here. Kama zman yikach le'ota mahut nifla'a likrom or begidim b'meimadei ha'olam hazeh ha'tachton. How much time will it take for this amazing, essential, this essence of emunah, of geula, to come and develop and reveal itself in the meimad? How did we say meimad was last time? The dimension of this world, ulid galot le'enei kol basar, and for that to be revealed in front of everyone, ne'elam me'enei ha'ma'amin. That's concealed from the eye of the believer. V'yitachen v'af nizbar be'enav ki medubar b'talich aruch tvach. And it could be he's already come to the conclusion. Listen, all good things come to those who wait. Another sentence that you want to take a stab, right? Another one of these things. Hamamin lo yachish. Okay, I want to explain this a little bit outside, not with our heads, but with our hearts. if I have to create emuna in the geula if I have to create geula on the level of yesh me'ayin, I'm doomed. What does that mean? If I have to create this concept called redemption, it's not, and I have to make it be, I have no chance. If I have to plug into yesh me'yesh, that it is already here, but I have to learn how to wear corrective lens, I have a chance. Do you understand that? Mm-hmm. If I have to create something from nothing, that's so much harder and sometimes more impossible than creating something from something. Is that clear?
I think it's always impossible.
It's always like this regarding everything in life. A Yiddish comes to the world, he looks at the world, and he says, my God, I spent 5 minutes on social media. For Geula to happen, it seems to me that I have to create something from nothing. Zot omeret, en po klum. I have to create this vision and this concept called Geula. And if I have like messianic qualities and I get all the money in the world, I'll eventually, maybe not me, but my great-great-grandchildren will make it happen somehow. That's a yesh me'ayin. But if I believe that it's already here, and the whole game here is hide and seek, that means I don't have to create something from nothing. And my approach to it is also so much more humbling as well. Because I don't necessarily have this, Mashiach complex. I just want it to be. I know this is a little bit difficult to understand, but this is basically the ratzon of the nefesh, of the neshama, really, really, in its deepest depths, cannot really be poel in a sane and logical way, or in a mesudadik manner, unless it believes that the concept of geula is already here in this world, and it's just about removing mechitzas, as opposed to creating something from nothing. Clear? Is it getting clear? Is it seeping in a little bit more? Very convincing. Yeah, Geffen.
Just the corrective lens of putting oneself out of time seems to be the correction in the opposite direction of what halacha seems to do to keep us ingrained in time, especially as a man. So how to square those two? It seems like we're being asked to do two separate, opposite things.
100%. And that is your intro into the Chassidus of the Alter Rebbe. Did anyone know what I'm talking about when I just said that?
Always asked to do two separate.
Nukva, there's Zachar and there's Nekeva. 100%. It works in two realms. Nachon. We have to sometimes go against our nature and operate from a different place. It's very correct. This place of Ratzon is very, very, very deep. Very, very, very deep. We have to understand this a little bit. We have to go a bit more inside. Just believing that the geula is here isn't enough. It has to seep into the place that's called tainug. I have to taste that. And then I have to go to the place of ratzon and say, what's my shaykhs to making the engine go? What am I doing? Anu me'uravim rikshit. We're emotionally involved here. כאשר ישנה הכרה ברורה וטעם ממשי של הטוב הנפלא שעתידה הגאולה להביא אל העולם ברוח ובחומר, when there's a clear recognition and a real taste of the gewalt good and sweetness that the future redemption will bring the world, both in ruach and in chomer, both in ruach and chomer, both physically, materialistically, and spiritually. כשמרגישים ממש כמה כל זה מפתה, נאה, חינני, מושך, מענג וניתן להשגה, חייבים לרצות בזה. When someone tastes how seductive, how pleasurable, how essential, how pleasurable and how approachable, how reachable all these concepts are, you can't not move forward and try to do whatever you can to get more of it. How do you know if you really, really tasted Shabbos? Rav Shlomo would say this a lot. How do you know if you really, really tasted Shabbos? If you really kept Shabbos? What?
Anti-3 stars.
That's one of them. Right? Definitely the anti-3-star movement. That's definitely one of them. What's another Indian? If you really tasted the pleasure of Shabbos, which means you tasted Mashiach, because it's Ein Olam Haba. So what would be the inyan? What would be the drive after that?
You want to get back to Shabbos. You want to stay in Shabbos. You want to get into
Ribbon Shleilim, I can't sleep at night until I bring more Shabbos to the whole world. Use me. Use me. Use me. The notion of use me that comes out of tasting something, use me. Ribbon Shleilim, just use me. It doesn't matter what it is. Use me. He's saying that's how you know that because when you really taste the or shekulo tov, when you taste this place that emuna, tanug, and arotzan has taken you, you're not satisfied with tasters, and you're not satisfied also that it's just you that's tasting it. You want more. How do you know you really tasted Eretz Yisrael? For real? If your inyan of tasting Eretz Yisrael immediately leads you to judge Tinek Juri, you're completely disconnected from the Or of Eretz Yisrael. You have nothing to do with the Or of Eretz Yisrael. Nothing to do with it. It's not the Or of Eretz Yisrael. Maybe it's the Achoraim of it. I don't know what it is. If you cry at night over, I'm just giving Tinek Juri as an example because they get all the hits when it comes to Aliyah and stuff. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where it is. That's how you know when you have a taste of a Yid living in Eretz Yisrael for 2,000 years, and you taste that deep down inside. The Ratzon leads you to a place to connect to the super consciousness of the Neshama Klali is called Am Yisrael, and judgment has no place. It has nothing to do with it. It's just a time of pleasure that you know that it's not meant just for you. It's clear to you this taste of pleasure is not meant just for you. You could do this with everything that's mamish a taste of the Olam Haba. For instance, when you mamish taste what it means to be with your zivug, and you know you have a lot of single friends, it's the same exact thing. You're so thankful, but also your heart is absolutely broken because you want it for everybody. It's like this with all the things that really, really matter in life. All the things that really satiate the soul. Like if you ever really had a moment of coming to your Shabbos table and seeing that Gewalt, everything I need is right here, at the food. Whatever it is, you look at the knife, you look at the challah, you look at the salt, doesn't matter what it is. The tainug of the nefesh leads you to a place at that moment to connect yourself to Nishmas Klal Yisrael. So the Ratzon leads you to say, Ibn Shleilim, use me that after Shabbos, however I act in this world, whatever I do in this world, I am going to be a person that starts crying over everyone that may not have this yet. For whatever the reasons are, it doesn't matter what it is. This all leads us back to the notion of Emunah, Tanug, but then it's not enough to have the Emunah and Tanug. It's got to go down into Ratzon. Has to go down into Ratzon. When you feel, I'm going to, again, the middle of the second to bottom paragraph, כשמרגישים ממש כמה כל זה מפתה, נאה חינני, מושך, מענג, ניתן להשגה, חייבים לרצות בזה, להצטער על העיכוב. And then you can't just stomach the fact that things are taking too long. לתחס כל עצה, you'll come up with any type of plan, כדי לבטל את סיבותיו, to nullify the reasons why things are taking too long, ולפעול במרץ לקידום היעד, and to do whatever you can to get to the destination. Now, how does this fit in with Eretz Yisrael? This is very important. The notion of, listen, after 2,000 years we reached what we reached like this, and now, what's 75 years in the light of 2,000 years? What's 75, thank you so much, what's 75 years in light of 2,000 years? Take your time. Now look what happens to us with that take your time notion. What happened over there on the cheshbon of take your time? Take your time works for other nations just trying to get a country together. Take your time does not work over here. During take your time, nachashim and akravim are showing up in every single hole that's been created. Take your time doesn't work over here. Ze lo vet kacha.
But what about the Gimel Shvuot and all this concept like that? You also said here that you must wait to such a moment and for the love to,
Shnei dvarim. You're bringing, you know what he just brought up? He's basically asking, what do you have to say about the Satmar Rebbe? I can't, אני לא יכול להתייחס לזה עכשיו.
לא, אני לא שואל את זה.
זה משהו אחר לגמרי.
שעכשיו אומרים משיח, העם כאילו לא מוכן, אפילו אנחנו לא, כאילו...
זה לא תלוי בנו, ההחלטה להביא את המשיח לא תלויה בנו. I'm not in charge of sending the Mashiach to the world. What am I in charge of? Listening to the pnimius of my nefesh. That's all I'm in charge of. And if I figure out a way להקשיב לפנימיות הנפש שלי, הנה לא ינום ולא ישן שומר ישראל, then I can't sleep at night. יש הבדל גדול. Hashem decides when Mashiach now is going to happen. I could daven for it. I could try to do whatever I can towards it. Because I can't ignore it. אני לא יכול להתעלם ממה שהנשמה שלי טעמה. אבל שוב פעם, I have to לקבל, I have to accept the fact that Mashiach, the Geula, all that is already here, and now we're just doing whatever we can to remove the screen to show that it's always been here. זה עמוק מאוד מה שאומרים פה. אי אפשר להבין את זה על הפשט. צריכים להיכנס לרבדים עמוקים ביותר שלא קשורים לממדי הזמן. זה הנקודה פה. הרצון הוא מעל הזמן. That's very important. Ratzon supersedes time. It's above the concept of time. Now he ends over here in the bottom over here. En davar haomed bifnei haratzon. Nothing stands in the way of how badly you want something. Nothing. Nothing stands in the way of how badly you want something. You know, one time Rav Shlomo was asked about, it was an evening of believing Jews and believing Chevra from other religions. And someone asked him, he said, according to you, why hasn't the Messiah come yet? Meaning to your people. Why hasn't the Messiah? This was in Kansas City. I think it was 1977. He was asked, you were there?
Might have been there.
Really?
Yeah.
He lived there.
Wow. Okay, maybe you were there. But you were only 2 years old then. I'm kidding. He says like this. He said, how do you explain this, that the Messiah hasn't come yet? He said, brother, according to our tradition, it's basically like this. When someone, in the world, when someone's if you interview two people that are trying to get a job to build a certain bridge to connect two different islands or whatever, and one guy comes to the interview and he says, I learned this, my credentials are this, I know how to do this, I've had experience here, and I would really think I'd be the good person for the job. And then another person shows up and says, yeah, I got nothing. I just had this vision that, I really want this bridge to be built. But I don't have any credentials, so we know who we hire when it comes to this world. But when it comes to the real things in life of like coming of Mashiach, it's actually the other way around. When two people show up to the job and one person says, well, I've done this, I have these organizational skills and I know how to talk to that person and I figured out how to do this and figured out how to do this. Okay. And another guy comes and he says, listen, be'emes, I don't really know. I'm just so desperate. I'm so desperate that it's built. That's the Mashiach Hidle. That's how Rav Shlomo said. That's the Mashiach Hidle. Doesn't mean you shouldn't try to develop skills b'chule. But that's the Mashiach Hidle. En davar haomed bifnei haratzon. So then Rav Shlomo answered back. He says, you know why Mashiach hasn't come yet? Because we still, till today, have not produced the type of people that really, really, really are desperate for Mashiach to come. Do you remember him saying that?
Well, the Rebbe said something similar. He said if there were 10 people,
right,
that really, really, really,
right.
really
Nachon. It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
He's the first thing, Ratzon, being Pilson's Argada. That he made a script, he made this book showing exactly how it would be. There was
just one thing missing from that whole.
Like I just wanted.
But it was one key element missing from the whole vision. What's that thing? God, right? Hashem was missing from that Agada.
Actually,
אני לא רוצה להיכנס לזה עכשיו.
Okay, but they say the temple and אלוהים, הוא נגמר בספר אלוהים.
הלוואי.
הספר שלו, חייב להגיד עליו, הוא גמר באלוהים, זה בבית המקדש השלישי.
אם זה היה ככה, היינו כבר בבית המקדש השלישי.
אין רצון.
אין דבר העומד בפני הרצון. האמונה שרויה במציאות עליונה. Where does אמונה reside? It's this supernal reality, בה אין כלל חשיבות למכשולים ולמניעות הגודשים את המציאות התחתונה. This is so beautiful. Emunah resides in this supernal reality that stumbling blocks, failures, misconceptions don't touch it kelo klum. It doesn't affect it at all. That's very comforting because if we look at the last 75 years, we would be like, did we mess it up or not? He's like, well, the shaila is, what are you trying to build? Are you trying to build a mitzias of emunah, or are you trying to build a country? Two separate things. If you're trying to build a country, a Jewish country, oh yeah, mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake. But if you're trying to continue to connect yourself to establishing the headquarters of faith in the world, that place doesn't get hit by anything. It doesn't get touched by anything. It doesn't get moved. It's pure in its essence, which again is very comforting. Ha'oneg omnam me'ir lanu kan b'chashecha. Pleasure gives us moments of taking away darkness. Ach besofo shel davar eno mitmoded ima. But pleasure doesn't really, how do you say mitmoded? Deal with, yeah. אלא מעלה אותנו לרגע קט אל מעל למכשוליה. Honestly, it's like taking a hit and getting high for 30 seconds. That's what he's basically saying pleasure is. It doesn't really transform the darkness. It just makes you feel better in the moment for a little bit about it. Haratzon, but ratzon is different. הרצון לעומתם פורץ את המחסומים ושובר את המכשולים. Ratzon is like, you know, the famous story of the Rebbe and Tashlich when he jumped over the fence, like or Mordechai lo yichra v'lo yishtachve, meaning Ratzon is there's nothing in front of me that could stop me from doing what I feel needs to be done right now. אין הדבר יכול לעמוד בפני כוחו ולמנוע ממנו להשיג את מבוקשו. When the Ratzon is so refined. And I was sitting with someone yesterday, and we were discussing the whole thing about Eretz Yisrael. It's like, the only way someone makes it here is when they mamish want to make it here. It doesn't work any other way. That's the only way. Only if you really, really want it to work here. And even then, it's not a simple piece of cake. But it's doable. That's the way the real things in life, that's what it boils down to. Et kol hakoach ha'adir hazeh, anu memakdim b'dmuto shel hamelech HaMashiach. This whole amazing amount of strength we're focusing right now in the character of Melech HaMashiach, of King Mashiach. Bo anu rotzim, who we want, ve'elav anu ratzim. And to him we're running. Sheyavo od hayom, that he should come even today. Ve'igal otanu v'et ha'olam kulo, and he'll come redeem the whole world. אכן את עוצמת הרצון הבלתי מרוסנת יש לסנן דרך כלי השכל והגיונו. Now he says over here something very important. עוצמת הרצון, the amazing amount of רצון that I have for this, הבלתי מרוסנת. You know what בלתי מרוסן means? The unrestrained, tremendous amount of רצון that I have for this, it should be filtered derech klei hasechel vehegyono, should be filtered through the vessels of the mind, of the intellect. This is obviously Chabad. This is a Chabad approach, right? Im lo kach yaseh, if we don't filter this unrestrained ratzon to bring Mashiach, אי אפשר יהיה להשתמש בכוחו בצורה נכונה. Then you can't use its strength in a proper way. זאת אומרת, wanting it is so powerful. It's so unrestrained. But if I don't know how to filter its power, it can basically become destructive or unusable. Or you can't use it. If I learn, and that's what the rest of this book is. The rest of this book is using the faculties that are produced by Ratzon for Melech HaMashiach to use it in a way that is productive, and that not only that, it keeps on giving me strength. I use it and it keeps on making me stronger. Koach adir she'eno mechuvan heitev, a tremendous power that's not focused directly in a proper way, alul la'afoch lekoach harsani, can become destructive, like we just said. Orot de tohu lelo kelim de tikun. This is, and what is this sefer all about? Orot de tohu bekelim shel tikun. That's the first chapter that we learned.
That's the whole Mishkan concept.
The bidyuk. A very tov mod ma she'amart. It's a bidyuk a mishkan gam ken. לכן, therefore, אנו פורטים את הרצון הגדול לפרוטות קטנות. How do you say לפרוט? It's a
Detail. It's like to break it
it's
down.
like change, like when you want exchange, yeah. We're exchanging this great ratzon that we have, and we're say, tell me something. You have change of a 20, you have change of 100, meaning give it to me in dosages that I cannot. What's that? Bidiyuk. Yeah.
Concentrate that I can digest.
Lifrot, to digest it, to concentrate it. ולפעמים גם קטנות מאוד. By the way, do you have 10 agurot? Meaning, I don't always know what to do with even a shekel, but with 10 agurot, I know what to do. Do you understand this? We have such a power, a ratzon, a drive for something so atomic. But if I don't develop the tools to use each piece of it in the proper way, it'll become harsani. It'll become destructive. It'll be tohu. It'll be or, but it'll be tohu. There's no kelim de tikkun going on. Tzad achar tzad nelech. We're going to go step by step, Rav Ginsburg says. You know what's crazy? Is that we actually haven't started learning the Sefer yet. That's what's insane about this. Well, no, we have I don't even know how many shurim already. We haven't even started. This is all a hakdama to explain to us how to use ourselves. Basically, the Sefer is giving us the ability to scream out to Hashem saying and understanding what we mean when we say, use me. Use me to bring Mashiach. Use me to bring Mashiach. לא נדלג בחבזוננו על שלבים בדרך. We're not jumping over any steps here. We're not taking any shortcuts. אך, however, בשום אופן גם לא נשכח מה מניע את רצוננו. But we're never going to forget what's the engine that's driving our ratzon at every step of the way. You know, often people build a shul, but they forget at a certain point what is the engine that drove them to build the shul in the first place. All the time, these things happen all the time. So you have to be focused on details in order to be the best you and use you as best as possible with a constant reminder of what is driving the engine. Always.
You've been to the other great line about.
Oh, it's not mine. Judah Michelle's, yeah. Of Judah Michelle. How do you? The first thing about every movement is that when it becomes a movement, it stops moving. Right. אך בשום אופן גם לא נשכח מה מניע את רצוננו. מה נותן לנו את הכוח לרצות ולעשות? We have to always remember what is giving me this koach to have a drive, to be asiyah, to be doers. That's mamish okay, now breathe in, bring it back home. Remember, you got so much into asiyah, now bring it back home. Where did it come from? What made this drive in the beginning, in the first place? Bring it back. תמיד עלינו להיות נאמנים, we always have to be faithful לאותו חוט השוזר את התהליך כולו, הגאולה שלמה, שראשיתה בחביון האמונה. We always have to be faithful to that same chut, that same thread that goes through the whole process that we're in right now, which is the Geula Shlema, which began with this character of Emunah that we discovered. Shemitama zachinu lit'om u'lita'aneg alav, that we've also tasted a little bit of it and have received derived pleasure from. Vehu asher orer ve'ifna et kol koach haratzon ha'adir shebanu lirtzot ve'lachpot bechol ha'mesimot ha'gdolot ve'aktanot shebefanenu, and it is these things, Emunah, Tanug, and Ratzon, that continues to give us all the strength we need to keep on having more of what we once tasted. Emunah, Tanug, Ratzon. The big things and the small things. If we remember this throughout the whole process, then we're able to basically produce Kalim the Tikkun. Oros the Tohu, it's all over the place. They killed 6 million Yidden. We came back here. We built a country. Oros the Tohu. 75 years. Kalim the Tikkun. Kalim the Lo Tikkun. Lish Kalim, Lish Tikkun. I don't know. Whatever you want to. I don't know exactly what it is. Now is at Kufa. He's saying, let's be Mesudar. Let's do this right. Tzad achar tzad. Let's understand our neshamas. Let's do it in a soulful way. And let's continue to build this place to be the headquarters of a nation that only survives and thrives only if they have emunah. Only like that. Okay. יישר כוח, everybody.